Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller podcast. I'm Joey, and today we're going to talk about navigating those difficult conversations. Yes, nobody likes them, but if you avoid them, your relationships will not be the best that they can be. And every relationship is going to have a little bit of conflict in it. So we're going to talk about today how to have those conversations. And so we're diving in and we're going to take some notes. Grab your notebook, grab your pen. We're going to talk about confrontation. And so there's something about difficult conversations. There's something about confrontation that I have just always avoided. I don't like having those hard talks. And maybe you're like me and you avoid them altogether. Or maybe you're someone who confronts, but it seems like every time you do, there's an explosion or an argument that follows. Maybe you're doing it the wrong way. So I want to get into the details. I want to really break this down today so that you can navigate these hard talks, these hard conversations with people to maximize your relationships. Most of the relationships in our life that have conflict in them, it's very resolvable. And it just takes us being mature as adults to handle confrontation. I read in a book that most people operate on the level of like an 8-year-old when it comes to hard things, when it comes to things in life that we're just never really taught, that we're just kind of expected to figure out along the way. And so when we see that no wonder people avoid having these difficult confrontations because we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to make a situation worse. Or maybe we're afraid that we're going to be taken the wrong way. We're going to be misunderstood. And there's an expression that says clear is kind. The School of Harvard came up with this psychological analysis of clarity when it comes to confrontation, that to be clear is actually to be kind to somebody if you do it in the right way. And just because we have a confrontation doesn't mean it's an argument. It's just, hey, we're going to talk about this. I'm noticing a little bit of tension in our relationship. I'm not giving a place for the enemy. And that's one of the greatest areas of the enemy working in our lives is when there is confrontation or misunderstanding, when there's conflict rather, or misunderstanding. There's been so many times in my life, even this morning, where I could have gotten upset over a misunderstanding when really it was nothing at all. There was a family member and we were playing phone tag for like months. Like I would call and the phone call would be missed, and then this person would call and I would miss it. And so like months. And every now and again, the enemy will put in my mind like they don't want to talk to you or they're upset with you about something. And if I let myself, I could have like taken that narrative and just run with it. I could have thought this person is mad, I did something wrong, and all of the mind games would just continue to flood in, right? And then naturally, if I think that person's mad at me, I start to bring up a case for myself. I get defensive and I start to think, well, how could that person be mad at me? This person did this. And it creates an inner conflict inside of us. And the truth of the matter is, when I talked to this person this morning, they were like, hey, and I was like, hey, and it was just literally, our schedules didn't line up and we had just missed each other a million times. I say that to say this: those are the moments that the enemy loves to just get in and cause conflict, unnecessary conflict. And if we're not willing to go into the conversation, which when I answered the phone this morning, I didn't know what I was getting. Was I going to get somebody who had an issue with me, somebody who was calling to tell me off, but I had to be willing to answer the phone instead of avoiding conflict altogether. And the truth of the matter is, there was no conflict, but there are going to be times in your life that there is real conflict, and we have to know how to address it God's way, especially if you are a Christian. And Christian relationships aren't perfect. Just because two people love the Lord doesn't mean that there's not going to be misunderstanding, there's not going to be room for disagreements, but it does mean this, that it's our responsibility to learn how to navigate these relationships in a way that glorifies God. And this could be someone at church. Maybe you avoid church altogether because you don't want to have a hard conversation with somebody. if you are a believer, it is your responsibility to learn how to navigate these conversations and apply them in a biblical way. Now, I'm not saying you just go around and like start arguments, or you just confront in a way that isn't God pleasing. You don't want to be known as an argumentative or a difficult person. But if you sense tension, fight for unity. If you sense that there's something not right, have the conversation. In fact, the Bible sets us up with a divine framework on how to have hard conversations, caring enough to confront. In Matthew 18, it says this: if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 to 3 witnesses. So this is a great framework. So maybe your confrontation isn't because somebody was sinning, it was just a misunderstanding. But it's a framework to say, if there is an issue, go to them one-on-one. Go have the conversation, I love this, with them, not 10 other people, not in the form of prayer. Like just keep this in prayer. So-and-so, has an issue with me. No, go to that person. If that person doesn't listen, it says bring someone else with you to help mediate the conversation. Help mediate the conversation. There are going to be times in your life where you might need a safe mediator, somebody to come in and speak truth when you just can't seem to meet eye and eye on a situation. So Matthew sets us up on how to navigate these conversations, but I'm going to give you 10 tips really quick on dealing with confrontation in the right way. So we're going to take a look here. Point number 1 is this: pray. Is it an issue that needs confronted now, or can you just let it go? Just let it go. Like I said before, don't just be confrontational for the sake of being confrontational. Pray about it first. I was counseling somebody in my office, and this person brought an issue to me. She said, I feel like this person doesn't like me, or that maybe I did something to them, and it just doesn't feel right. And they served together on a team. And I said, well, you know what? You need to go have a conversation with this person for the sake of unity. Pray about it. And if you feel a green light, have the conversation, because you can't be serving in the house of God together if there's not unity in the relationship. And so she came back to me and she said, look, I prayed about it, and I just didn't feel like I should have the conversation. In fact, she said, I'm just going to let it go. She said, it might just be something in my own mind. And that was after prayer. And that's when you take it to God. God will give you wisdom in the situation. Instead of just being hot-headed or allowing the enemy to have a heyday in your thoughts, she got clarity. She got peace over the situation. And she said, you know what? This really isn't anything big. And so maybe you start to have like a 3-strike system. Like if I felt a little bit weird about this, I'm just going to let it go the first time. Maybe the second time. And the third time, maybe I'm going to have a conversation with this person. And women, we get the vibe, right? We get the feelings. We're like, there's just a weird vibe. There was just something off there. I can just feel it. And so, as women, learning to take it to the Lord, not just to operate on your vibe, but to take it to God. And I can't tell you how many times it's simply just a misunderstanding, or maybe somebody was just having a bad day. Having grace that if someone is just having a bad day, then I'm going to give them their space. I'm going to give them 3 strikes. I'm not going to take it personally, but take it to the Lord. Choose your battles wisely. Proverbs 19:11 tells us that it's actually to one's glory to overlook an offense, that you can overlook it, but if it becomes a thing, you know what I'm talking about. If it becomes a thing, have the difficult conversation. Have it, don't give room for the enemy through misunderstanding, but just talk about it. Number 2 is this: if you're taking notes for confronting the right way, to know the time and place for the conversation. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. There have been moments where someone has confronted another church member in the foyer of the church. And it was like, you know what, this just really isn't good timing. Read the room. So know the timing for the conversation. There's times even where I need to confront maybe my children about something. And I have learned to be wise about the timing. When I was younger, I would just do it immediately. Like I'd find out something or I would get upset about something and I would just go in guns a-blazing, wanting to confront the issue. Now I have learned that timing is everything. Just because I have an awareness of something or because it had an emotional trigger to me doesn't mean I need to deal with it in that moment. In fact, it's probably an indication that I shouldn't deal with it in that moment. There is something about taking some time to let things cool off, to get more information maybe about the situation rather than just to respond quickly. So understand the timing of the confrontation, but don't let it go too long when the Lord's told you to do it, but have wisdom in the timing. My husband and I used to get in huge blowout fights over silly things because he would want to talk about things immediately. And I like to let things go for a little bit. I like to think about it. I like to say, well, why am I actually mad? Why am I feeling this way? And whenever he would push a conversation, it would cause actually an explosion. So what could have been just a conversation became this huge argument because of bad timing. Now, if it were up to me, because I don't like confrontation, I would just be like, hey, let's never talk about this, right? So he was really good and he would say, well, we don't have to talk about it right now, but let's come back together in a half an hour and let's talk about it. So it created a boundary around the timeline to when we had the conversation. Maybe it's a friend of yours and you need to have a difficult conversation. Send a text like, hey, I just want to talk about some things. Is there a time that is good for you? That way you're not calling them or talking to them when their kids are hanging all over them. You want to eliminate as much stress as possible when you're confronting the right way, when you're navigating these difficult conversations so that you're not adding to the chaos, you're not adding to the confrontation with other elements around you. Number 3 is seek to understand from the other person's perspective. Give them the benefit of the doubt and assume the best, not the worst. Did you hear that? Assume the best, not the worst. Why do we always assume the worst? It's just something that the humans do. It's, like I said before, so many misunderstandings from assuming the worst. You didn't get invited somewhere. So you're assuming, oh my gosh, they don't like me. Why was I left out? Assume the best. Be like, you know what? They were probably just busy or they forgot, or sometimes situations just arise and it's spontaneous. And you're like, hey, you want to go grab coffee? Let's go now. Assume that they're not intentionally leaving you out. If you can get this down, it will save you from so much heartache and so many conversations that you won't even have to navigate because you have just learned to let some stuff go. But seek to see things from the other person's perspective when they're talking to you. And so when you do this, you start to say, well, I'm going to believe that their motive wasn't bad. I'm going to trust that they didn't mean what they said about me that came across in an ugly way. And so when you understand somebody's character, you don't judge them in the moment. I heard something about somebody, it came to my ears, and I said, well, that was probably just a moment. Someone was bringing a complaint to me, and they're like, this person did this and said this, and I know that person, and it wasn't about me, but I said, you know what, this was just a moment. I know this person's character, and even if this situation did happen, it's not what you think it is. And so I knew that because I was assuming the best. I was seeing both sides of the perspective of both sides of the situation through the other person's perspective. And so if you can learn to do this, it will help you so much in navigating difficult conversations. Don't go into the conversation with a mindset that your way is the only way, but be open to hear what they have to say as well. Hey, ladies, do you need something different in 2026? I want to invite you to our L conference. It's May 15th and 16th. It's going to be a weekend of life change. You're going to step into what God has for you next, your purpose, His plan. You're going to have fresh grace and power to walk out everything that He has set before you this year. Go to joiemiller.co, get your tickets. They're absolutely free, but I want to know that you're coming, and we'll see you at L conference. Number 4 is this: address the incident to the situation, not the person. Don't make it personal. Don't attack the person's character. When you're sitting down and you have to talk about something, keep it to the specific situation. Don't go into, well, you are, and you talk about people all the time, and I hear you. You're a gossip. Like, no, keep it to the situation. If not, you will not resolve it. And that's the goal of having these hard conversations. It's for resolve. It's for unity. It's not that I'm right and you're wrong. It's not just to give a piece of my mind. It's for resolve and unity in the situation. That if you learn to navigate these difficult conversations, you won't have to have a relationship that you feel like is unsettled or that there's an angst in. In fact, the Bible says that when it comes to you, do everything to be at peace with those around you. There's another scripture that says that you can have peace on every side. It was talking about a territory here, land, but it said you're going to be at peace with everybody on all sides of your land or property. And thinking about that of our lives, and I often will think about that scripture and say, no, I'm going to have peace on every side. There's not going to be somewhere that I go that there's somebody that I avoid because I feel like they don't like me or I won't have a difficult conversation with. And so it's learning to address the situation, not the person. Don't make it personal. Number 5 is keep the issue clear. Don't get sidetracked by little other issues. Keep the objective clear. You might even have to say things like, we're not going to talk about that right now. We're not going to talk about that issue right now. That's not the issue, because if you allow yourself, you can go down a million other side topics without addressing the heart of the issue. And that's what you want to do. You want to address what is the real reason. You don't want to bring up 10 other things that they did. You want to get to the heart of the matter, not the side issues. You want to really address what it was that brought you to this conversation in the first place. Next is number 6, love first. Affirm the person and their role in your life. Speak positive feelings first. Have you ever heard of the sandwich method? When you're confronting somebody, start with something that is good and then bring in the difficult conversation and then end the conversation with what is good. Even if that ending of the conversation is just like, hey, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this, but I still love you. Like, I still want to be friends with you. I want to have a relationship with you, but start with what is good. Start with gratitude. There was a friendship in my life a few years back, and the friendship had just changed. And it wasn't because anything had happened. It was just like life. And I think it's recognizing that too, that sometimes your relationships will change, and it's just because of life. And so I wanted to write this person a birthday card. And I started the card with, there were a lot of things that I wanted to say, maybe hurts that had come in, but I started through gratitude. Like, I thank God for the gift of your friendship. It has been beautiful during the years. And then I realized that seasons in life has changed and things aren't maybe what they used to be. And then I ended with, but I will always be here for you as a friend, and I will always appreciate the relationship and the years that we have had together. And there was more things in between there. But what I did was I confronted the situation in a way that still gave thanks. It wasn't like, you're a horrible friend, you've deserted me, all of the things that I could have said out of anger. I said, you know what? I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna pray about it. Second of all, I'm recognizing that there's something different about this relationship. Next, I'm going to look at it through their perspective. No, they weren't doing anything on purpose. It was just life. Life has just gotten busy. And so I'm going to address it, but with an attitude of gratitude. And so, that relationship isn't what it used to be, but it was still good. And there's still good seasons that can come out of it. It's just redefining it. And so whenever you have to confront or have a conversation, start with what is good. Like, I thank God that you are part of my life. I thank God that you are part of my family. Like, there's so many amazing things about you. And because I value our relationship, I wanted to have a clear conversation about something that I heard or something that I felt. And I want to hear your heart on it, because I know, like, you're an amazing person, and I would never want to misjudge or misrepresent you in this situation. And so you're seasoning it with grace and gratitude, and that disarms the other person, and it really helps to truly express what's in your heart, because you wouldn't be having a confrontational conversation if you didn't care about that person. So you are going to express that you truly do care. And so make sure that you love first, affirm the person. Number 7 is use I statements from your perspective. Don't clump others in or assume that others feel the same way. So you would maybe say something like, help me understand this. Maybe you heard something that somebody was talking about you. And instead of saying, like, 20 people told me that you said this, that's going to posture the other person in a place of defensiveness and already feeling like they're being attacked. So you want to say, help me understand. I heard that you said this, and I just want to bring clarity to it. Or maybe say, I'm wondering. Keep it about you. Don't bring the audience in. Already in our mind, especially as women, there is like a whole bunch of like people in a fake audience in our life that we magnify and we imagine. So don't give space to that. The last thing you want is you don't want somebody to feel uncomfortable going on from that conversation, because here's what's happened. They might make up with you, but now in their mind, everyone else is still upset with them and they feel uncomfortable, and you're not going to get unity and resolve. So keep it about you. Number 8 is never use absolute words, right? That's like communication 101 when it comes to dealing with conflict. Don't use always. Like, you always ignore me when I come into the house, or you never do nice things for me. So stay away from the always and nevers, because most of the time they have done something good. And so they're going to be like, wow, they're just being extreme here. There's no room for grace. There's no room for resolve. So stay away from those words. Number 9 out of 10 is be patient. Monitor your tone and your body language. This is huge. So many times I will have a conversation with my children and they'll say, why are you mad? And I'll say, I'm not mad. And they're like, your tone sounds mad. And there was one time in particular where I was in a video, like, you know how your kids record videos, and I was in the background talking to one of my other children, and I was like, wow, I did sound mad in that scenario, which made me think, well, is my tone just always sound mad? So whenever I'm having a difficult conversation, I try to really guard my tone, to monitor my tone, to season it with love. You know, we talk about it all the time, like honey makes things go down a lot easier. So whenever you're saying it nice and not combative, it's received much better. And here's the thing, that other person will rise to the level that you are. So if you're like at a level 10, they're going to come up to a level 10. But if you keep it at a low level, if they are at a level 10, it's going to diffuse the situation. And hopefully you're both at a low level throughout the conversation, being patient, being kind, watching your tones, and watching your body language. You know, don't sit there with your hands crossed looking mad. Be open to resolve. And number 10 is give the other person time to respond. Communicate a clear plan or resolve to move forward. So don't end the conversation in a way that is like, well, you know, we had the conversation and I'll see you in 10 years. No, have a clear resolve on how to move forward. Like the conversation I had with my friend, it was like, hey, our relationship isn't what it used to be, but we had great times and you're amazing. And I hope to continue to watch as your family grows and does amazing things. So you're explaining, I don't expect like you to maybe call me every day, but I want you to know that I am still in your fan club. I'm still cheering you on, ending with resolve or a clear plan moving forward. So especially if it maybe is a family member saying, hey, let's talk about this. What does this look like the next time this happens. I had a conversation not too long ago like this. I say that a lot. I must deal with confrontation a lot in my life. I'm like, just the other day, just today. But I had a conversation with this person, and I said, you know what, do me a favor. I said, the next time you think that, just be clear with me. Just say, hey, I was thinking this, and the enemy's just like really using this in my mind. So I'm just going to ask you directly, did this happen? Or what did you mean when you said this? And so I gave them permission to ask me difficult questions. That was our plan of action moving on, because I value this person. And anytime that there's a miscommunication, it would set back our relationship. And I said, no, I don't want to give any space for miscommunication. I'm telling you, I'm giving you permission. I will not be mad at you. Just ask me the question. And so that was our plan going on. So don't just leave with an uncertainty or how are things, I'm not sure what to do next. Just lay it out. Like I said before, most people have like an 8-year-old understanding of an 8-year-old when it comes to dealing with these things. So if you learn and grow and be mature and the adult in this situation, you will resolve conflict. You will not be afraid to have difficult conversations. You'll say, you know what? Actually, to be kind is to be clear. We're going to navigate these conversations so that our relationships can be whole, so that they can be good, so that they can be prosperous. And that doesn't mean you're going to be best friends with everybody, but it means there will be peace on every side in your life. As much as it has to do with you, be at peace with those around you. I hope these 10 tips helped you navigate conflict. Leave a comment below. Maybe you have some ways that you navigate conflict in your life, and don't shy away from difficult conversations. Remember, just because you're confronting somebody doesn't mean it's an argument. It's bringing clarity, and you do it through maturity. So leave a comment below, like and share this podcast with someone who might need to have a difficult conversation. Until next time, I'll see you on the Joie Miller podcast.